My name is Murtza Gaznavi. I am an international development manager at Aberystwyth University, which is situated in Wales, in the United Kingdom. Can anybody, or rather can everybody say Aberystwyth? It's a difficult one to pronounce at first. Yeah? All right, let's try. Let's try, okay? You break it into 3 separate pieces and it's much easier. So it's wrist, with. Now put the 3 together and you get? That's it. So I taught you that in about 30 seconds. Imagine what we can teach you in 3 years if you're at the university. So the purpose of today's presentation is generic. It is a guide to studying in the UK, applying to study in the UK, what life is like when you are studying in the UK, adjusting to it. I was an international student myself when I went to the United Kingdom, and basically this is some of the information that I wish people had given me before I went there to study. This is an informal session. If you have questions, you can throw them at me during, I don't mind being interrupted. And also I should stress that this is relevant to you no matter which university you're applying to in the United Kingdom, or even in the language schools. The information is relevant no matter what. It's for anybody that wants to go to the UK, all right? So, let's give it a shot. First and foremost, has anyone here been to the UK already? You have? Okay. When you consider what life is like in the UK, it's very different to what people expect sometimes. Some people have an image of Britain being very British and being very traditional and very set in its ways. That is not so much the case anymore, particularly in the big cities like London. You know, you have a huge expansion of people from different parts of the world. So if you're studying in the UK, it is a very diverse society. Yes, there are British people, but even amongst British people, there are many different ethnicities, what you would call nationalities over here, and you will have an exposure to all these different cultures. I mean, particularly in London right now, I'd say the number of, and I appreciate that we're in Ukraine, but most people here I've met speak Russian, and the number of Russian speakers in London has just been rising every year. So at most universities and most colleges now, you will find Russian speakers. They actually conducted a poll recently in London, and the subject was, are there too many Russians now living in London? And I think 55, you know, are there too many Russians, and is this a big problem now? 55% of the people said, yes, there are too many Russians. The other 65 said, это не большой проблем. So, just to think about it, there are a lot of different cultures. You get access to a lot of different people. Many different traditions, of course. You know, you'll have the Western Christmas and Easter, Orthodox Christmas and Easter. You know, you'll have exposure to a lot of different cultures. You will enjoy the English language in a number of different accents. Some people are very easy to understand. Some parts of the UK, the accents are very different. It's just like when I'm here in Ukraine, I hear Ukrainian being spoken one way in Kiev, but the closer I get to the border with Poland, I hear a lot of differences in the accent. So that's something to think about as well. Some people would argue that the way English is spoken in Scotland is very, very different to the way English is spoken in England. So you can adjust to this. In Wales, they speak in a very drawn-out manner. The geography, I mean, much like Ukraine, the UK is a beautiful country. There are a lot of things to explore, a lot of things to see. So, one of the questions you'll be asking yourself, why choose the UK over other parts of the world? Obviously, you have the choice. You can study in the United States, you can study in Australia, Canada. There are other countries to choose from. Some people would ask the question, why choose the UK? So, let's talk about the advantages there. First of all, it is a prestigious education system. It is recognized worldwide. There is nowhere that a British degree is not recognized, is not respected, and does not get you a job. The other thing, and this is a big difference, the focus on specialization from year one. Now, I'm not saying that the British education system is better than the American or the Canadian systems, even though it is. What I'm saying is, it's over there, you spend 4 years at university, whereas in the UK you spend 3. You generalize first, and then you specialize. In the UK, you specialize from the very beginning. So if you're interested in going somewhere where you don't want to waste extra time, and you don't want to spend an extra year's worth of money at university, but you know what you want to do, then I would definitely say come to the UK. On the other hand, there's sometimes other people who want to have a bit more generalization, a bit more of a choice before they focus on something specifically. Then understand that the British system might be taking some opportunities away from you because it is very focused on specialization from the beginning. You'll be experiencing a new culture, like I said, not just British culture, but all the other culture. The British universities are full of international students, and we recruit international students very actively. We want diverse communities. For example, now I'm very happy to say that on our campus, we have a growing number of Ukrainian students. We actually have one Ukrainian professor as well. So, this is something that we're focusing on. And yes, it's a great chance to make new friends. The first question comes, how to apply. So different places have different systems. There is UCAS, which some of you might have heard of, which is an opportunity to apply through a central system that goes to all universities. Or you can do what we do. We have direct application forms. All of our applications are done online. The best way to apply, if I was to be completely honest with you, is do it through our partners, Business Link. So Business Link are our representative office here in Ukraine. They have client managers, they have specialists, they have expertise in applying to the UK, studying in the UK. They will help you with the process, they'll help you collect your documents, they'll help you with the visa process. The visa process in the UK is getting more and more difficult. So it is better to be working with someone who knows the system and knows what they're doing. Basically, once you go through the application process, if you do it with our partners, it's very simple. They will look after you over here, and we will look after you over there. So, because it is a stressful process sometimes. We want to make it as easy as possible. Okay, so now we get to the fun part. These are all the things I wish people had told me before I came to the UK as a student. Step one, things to remember before you leave home. If you're coming to study in the UK, you'll be given a CAS letter. This is a letter which confirms that you are now a student in the UK. This is the university you'll be studying in. Most people use this letter to get their visa, and then they forget about it. My advice, carry it with you. You'll arrive at immigration, you'll say hello, they'll ask you where you're going to study. You don't need to have a long, drawn-out conversation. Just put that piece of paper in front of them, and all questions are answered, and then you're on your way. The other thing, and this is a very strong piece of advice, please do not say yes to a question you didn't understand just to finish the conversation quickly with an immigration officer. I've seen that mistake made. Sometimes people make the mistake of thinking that because you don't have full function, full command of a foreign language, and you're standing there trying to speak it, you feel stupid. It is not a sign of stupidity. You simply do not know the language. If I tried to do this presentation in Ukrainian, I assure you I would look very stupid. So if the immigration officer asks you a question, you're not sure what they say, you can say, excuse me, can you please repeat that? You can say, excuse me, can you please repeat that again and again and again. It is absolutely fine. Most of you will be doing either foundation courses or language courses, or if you're going to the schools, to boarding schools to study English, that means you've come to the UK to study English. So by that logic, your English cannot be fluent. So it's all right to not understand them, and it's all right to ask them to repeat. They're usually quite friendly. Depends on the time of day you arrive at the airport. Obviously, you'll have your visa in your passport, so it's no problem there. Money, another thing people forget. Okay, you'll have your credit cards, you'll have your bank account, you'll have access to the money that you have, but head to an exchange point, have a few British pounds in your pocket before you come. It's what I like to call burger money, so that when you get there, if you need to buy a bottle of water, a sandwich, something like this, you have that with you. Sponsor letter, okay, if you're fortunate enough to have somebody paying for you to come and study in the UK, it wouldn't hurt to carry that letter from them as well, just in case you need to show that to the immigration officer. That way you've got all your bases covered. Minimum conversation, everything documented. Accommodation. Now, we're living in an age of Google now. It's not like it was before. You will know where you are staying on campus or off campus before you come to the UK. Every British address has a postcode. It's usually 6 letters and numbers. If you Google that, immediately you'll get a Google map view of where the accommodation is. Do this in advance. Know where the accommodation is. Figure out how to get there. And on that note, the things to remember regarding accommodation, book your ticket to the most convenient airport. There is no point in flying to Heathrow and then having to travel all the way across the country if you're going to be studying in Scotland, for example. If you're coming to study with us, I recommend people to fly to Birmingham, because Birmingham Airport has its own train station. You get on the train, last stop is us. You don't have to change stations with luggage, you don't have to go through the inconvenience. So a lot of people make that mistake. Pick the most convenient airport for yourself. Arrive in time for international student enrollment or orientation. Now, I'll just quickly explain this. Most people think, well, when do the classes start? They start on this date. But we're expected at university 1 week before. Well, why should I be there 1 week before? I'll arrive when classes start. This is a mistake. That week, by the way, that week is the best week at university, the first week, because 2 things will happen. Number 1, you will need to identify when your classes are. You will need to know what your timetable is. You can't just show up You need to coordinate this yourself. It's not like school. Nobody does this for you. You know, in school you show up and the teachers tell you, this is where you're going to be, this is where you're going to be, and that's your timetable. It doesn't work like that at university. The other big difference, of course, as well, is that in school, if you're not performing, if you're not doing the things you're supposed to do, the teachers will get involved. At university, the only thing that will happen is that you will fail. So you need to coordinate yourself and know when you're doing what you're doing. Arrange a pick-me-up service. Some universities, including ours, what we do is we send buses to the airports to pick up international students when they arrive at university for the first time. After that, you'll be taking trains, you'll be taking buses, you'll be independent, enjoy yourselves. But for the first time, if you like, we're there to try and make things easier for you guys. So let us know. Arrange travel insurance, that's an optional thing. I'll leave it to it. Make arrangements for your family. That's another thing. Some students, I don't think it's so much a part of the culture here in Ukraine, but from many countries, we have students who the parents come with them in the first week because they want to see the place, they want to see the facilities. My parents, it was a little bit different. They were pretty much glad I was gone. And after I left, they gave the room to the cat. So, you know, I was sent away. You get other students where the parents are just, you know, okay, you go, we're not coming, it's your university, you go ahead. You get students from other countries as well who the parents will come, they want to see the room, they want to see the classes, they want to make sure the flush works, they want to do everything. So it really depends. But if your family are coming with you, they cannot stay in your student accommodation with you. And you will not want them staying in your student accommodation with you, believe me. So have a look around, Google it, find bed and breakfast, hotel, something like this for your family to stay in. So once you get there, it can be a little bit crazy because you've arrived there and you're thinking, what do I do now? And there's 100 different things that you need to do, but you don't know when to do them. My advice, do this one first. Call home and let them know that you've arrived safely so they know that you're there in one piece. I forgot to do this. Some of my friends were chasing me 4 or 5 days later saying, yeah, your father's looking for you. And I said, okay, I better call home. So yeah, call home. Let them know that you're okay. Now, that is not the best picture. That is our registry building. Every university has a registry. This is the main administrative center. You can call it that. You go there first with your CAS letter, give it to them, and the first thing they will give you is your student ID. And that's key. That's very important. These days, the technology has reached a stage where the student ID has many functions. It's not just your ID. It's also your library card. In some cases, it's the key to your room on campus as well. We have a facility where you can put money on your student ID so that then when you go to the on-campus restaurants, to the cafeterias, you don't need to pay. You just swipe your ID card and the money is deducted from there. So that's essential. Once you've got that, of course, you need to then go and identify your accommodation. So you go to the accommodation office with that ID. They will tell you where your room is. You go to the room, you put your bags down, then you're free to explore. Next step, go to your academic department, to the faculty. Introduce yourself, present yourself to the faculty, and enroll on the course. Make sure that you are registered. This doesn't happen automatically. What's going to happen next is you'll be figuring out what your timetable is. At universities in the UK, there are 2 types of classes. There's a lecture, which is much like this, a large room, 1 professor, and usually nobody listening. And then there's a seminar. The seminar is where you have the group work, where you sit down, homework is assigned, group work is assigned, you discuss what happened in the lecture. Now, lectures have fixed timings because they don't change, but seminars happen at different times. So you need to make sure that for each module that you have seminars, they're not clashing with other seminars. So you have to pick the timetable accordingly, if you can understand me. The smartest thing you can do is find which seminar is taught by the professor himself, not by an assistant and not by someone else. Because then that way, the same person lecturing to you is the same person who's there in the seminar group. This is what I would advise you to do. So once you've done all of that, next step, of course, is that you need to go to the nearest computer room and you need to set up your university email ID. Of course, we all have email addresses. I suppose many of us have more than one. But your university email is necessary because this will be your main mode of communication with your professors. Okay? Homework assignments, registering for exams, everything is done with this university ID. So you do need to get that set up. Attend student orientation. So there's 2 sides to that. One is the academic side, but then there's also the other side where the societies or clubs, as they call them, and there can be a club for film, for football, for many different things. You'll find out when the social events are. This is the fun side of university, and you need to attend those events and find out when those things are happening and make the best of it. Open a bank account. usually it's advisable to open a bank account in the UK. Most universities, including ours, now have banks having offices on the university campus. So you don't even need to go into town. So then that way you've got your British bank card that you can use for your time while you're there. Register with the health center. So I will explain. We have a medical center on campus, which is absolutely free for our students, and it's open 24 hours a day. We advise them to register there when they arrive. This doesn't mean that if 3 months later, God forbid, something bad has happened, that we will say, no, you didn't register, we're not going to help you. We will. But if you're registered, we know if you have any allergies, we know if you have any previous medical conditions. We already have this information, so it helps us to look after our student. Register with the police. Now, I will explain. International students, as foreign nationals, are required to register with the authorities in the United Kingdom. It sounds scary, it really isn't. At our university, you don't even have to go yourself to the police. You give us the documents, we take them to the police for you. So it's much simpler. The purpose of this is that, again, hopefully not, but if something bad happens or we need to contact your family or something like this, there's an account of who you are. It's basically a health and safety matter. Another piece of advice I will strongly give is that when you register with the police, please make sure they know very clearly that you are registering as an international student. Do not register as anything else when you register with the police. I've seen that go wrong. Student life. Okay, so let's be very clear. The primary purpose of going to university, whether it's for a bachelor's, a master's, a PhD, the primary purpose of coming to the UK to study is just that, to study. Education is your absolute priority. However, I must also very strongly say it is not the only reason you're coming. There is another side to university life, which is the experience, the fun, frankly, the sports, the parties, the people you will meet. I'm only really in touch with one friend from school these days, just one. And that too because he owes me money. But if you look outside of school, if you look at the friends from university, a lot of these guys are friends for life, and I'm still in touch with them. So, you should make the best of it. So we have a students' union. We organize trips to explore different parts of the UK. There are the societies, like I said, the clubs. You could join the Ukrainian society. I mean, some universities have Slavic societies because we have students from different Slavic cultures. Sports, film, depends what you're interested in. Just go for it. It's free. They don't charge you for any of this, and you get to hang out with people who have similar interests to you. And if you don't find the society that you want to join, you can start your own. You can start your own, and you'll even get some funding from the student union to organize events. So this is a lot of fun. Also, Job Shop, a career center. So we have an office on campus whose function is to try and help students find work while they are students. If you have a student visa in the UK, you're allowed to work up to 20 hours per week, part-time, during term time. So during the days you have classes, you can work 20 hours per week. And your earnings are tax-free, so you don't pay taxes on this money, on this earning. If it's holiday time, you are allowed to work full-time, 40 hours a week, and again, also tax-free. Let me be clear, this will not finance your education. Education in the UK is quite expensive. But what it will do is make everyday life easier. Again, what I like to call burger money. Everyday spending money, you can get it. Some students are working in restaurants or in cafeterias, in the cinema. I was a bartender for 4 years while I was at university. But other students, the smart ones, try and get a job in the library or ideally within the faculty, within the academic department. So if you're studying economics, for example, go to the economics department and see if there's any work. Even if that work is photocopying and making coffee, take it, because you will be able to say on your CV that you worked within the academic department. You will have daily access to your professors, which is a good thing to have for future reference, and they will write you recommendation letters, and then who knows where that could lead. So, because if they know you, then they might recommend you to people who they know in industry to hire you when you finished at university. So it's a good way to be close to your academics. So I can share these links with you later. It's just pre-arrival information. So a couple of things to bear in mind. Number one, first and foremost, you are residents. A student visa in the UK is basically a temporary residence permit. Okay? You have the same rights as anybody else in the UK with the exception of the right to vote, which frankly speaking is not something that foreigners are too interested in. And that's why you will get pretty much what everybody else gets. Now the other thing, convenience. I shouldn't say this, but it's the truth. When I first got to the UK, I came to the distinct impression that the British have an allergy to convenience. Things close at 6. Shops close early. It's not really easy to get things delivered. Not in in a city like Kiev, when I see 24-hour shops and 24-hour restaurants, these things are not very common in the UK. If you're in London, if you're in Manchester, if you're in the big cities, sure, absolutely. But in the smaller towns, you have to bear in mind that there is that thing to think about. My advice is choose a town which is a university town, okay, where the university is a big part of the society over there, because then that means, I mean, for example, we are a small seaside town. The population is only 25,000 people. But we have 24-hour shops, we have 24-hour restaurants, and that's not very common in the UK. Why we have this is because 50% of our population is students. So you must cater to them. And the other thing is this. Just to give you an example, years ago I had a friend who had two options. Boston University or New York University. I'm shifting this to the US for a reason. And he came to me and he said, well, which one will I do? And I said, I suggest, go Boston. He goes, no, but New York is an amazing place. I said, I agree, New York is an amazing place. It's an amazing place today. It'll be an amazing place after you graduate. When you come back with your wife and kids, it'll be an amazing place. And frankly, even when you come back as a very, very old man, it'll be an amazing place. But Boston is a student town. And what you get out of it during your time as a student is irreplaceable. The entire experience. And here's another advantage to living in a student town, and this is very much the case with us. If you're at university and you want to see your professor outside of class, so you want access to them outside of their class hours, they have contact hours. And those contact hours are published, it's on their door. So you wait for those contact hours and you go to see the professor, and guess what? You're not the only one. There's a large group over there, they all want to talk to him or her, and if you miss them during those contact hours, they are on a train and they go back to where they really live, which is usually somewhere far away from the university. With us, this is impossible. If you don't see them in class, you'll see them at the bank, you'll see them at the supermarket, you'll see them walking their dog on the beach. We always say that in Aberystwyth, it's impossible to fail in peace because you have constant access to your academics. And I also think that's something important. Rail cards. So you go to any train station in the UK, show them your student ID, give them a certain amount of money, I think it's £25, and they will give you a rail card. This is a discount train card. After that, all of your train journeys are approximately 30% off. It makes life much easier. It's very, very convenient. And on that subject, student discounts. There are many places that offer discounts to students. Some cinemas do it on certain days, some restaurants do it. There are many places where you just show your student ID and you say, do you guys offer any student discounts? There's no shame in doing this, so go ahead and do it. Because, let me put it to you this way. If they are offering a student discount, ask, you might get it. If you don't ask, you will definitely not get it. They will not advertise to you that they have an option of doing it for cheaper. But do ask around. Stuff, right. Key piece of advice, and this is a big mistake that I made. I arrived at university, I did everything step by step, found my accommodation, there I was, I found my room and I thought, okay, I'm going to go explore. I went out and made some very interesting new friends that evening. When I finally somehow made it back to my room around, I think it was 4:30 in the morning, 5 a.m. approximately, give or take, I noticed there's something key that was missing. Stuff. All I had in the room was my suitcase. I didn't make the effort to buy a pillow, I didn't buy any blankets, I didn't buy any shampoo, I didn't have any toothpaste. All I had was my suitcase. So what happened next was a very, very uncomfortable evening where I took copious amounts of clothes, put them on the floor, used them as a pillow, and used a blanket, well, it was the curtain. So find out where you can go. Most university towns will have shops nearby where all the students go in the first days to buy pillows, blankets, toiletries, things that you need around the house. You'd be surprised how many people forget about this. It's a classic mistake. Buddy schemes, I'll quickly explain this. We have a system, which is we call it a buddy scheme. What it basically is it's optional, you can choose to be on it. That let's say you're coming from here, you contact us and say, I'm registered, I've accepted my place, I'm coming in September. Can you introduce me to another Ukrainian student already at university? And then we will find one and put him in touch with you. Maybe you don't want to be introduced to a Ukrainian student. Maybe you also want to learn Spanish and you say, can you introduce me to a Spanish speaker or somebody else interested in football or in movies? And we will find a buddy, another student at campus, put you in touch with them. What happens next is you'll exchange email addresses, you'll be friends on Facebook or however it works, and you will already have someone you're in touch with who can give you advice, tell you things. You'll already have a friendly face when you come to campus. It is completely optional, but some students might consider it as a friendlier start, a friendlier introduction to university. Academics and beyond, I'm just going to repeat what I said earlier. Primary purpose is education, but there's also a lot more to university life. Enjoy it, make the most of it. these are irreplaceable years. They do not come back. So I strongly suggest enjoy it and make the most of it. And finally, and here I'm speaking not just for myself, but I'm pretty sure for every representative in that room upstairs, whether they're from universities, whether they're from high schools, it doesn't matter. We will always support you. Your relationship with us does not need to end here. That, okay, you've spoken to us, we've introduced the university, you've made your application, and you're in, that's the end of it, we don't want to see you anymore. No, it doesn't work like that. You can remain in touch with us. Come and see us. You know, if there's a problem afterwards, if you want to come and say hi, we're always there. Our office doors are always open. If you can, bring Kharilka and Salo with you. I would appreciate that very much. That's not necessary, though. So do come and see us if you have questions, and we're always very happy to help. Okay, those are my contact details. After this, I'll be heading back upstairs, so if anybody wants to ask me specific questions about my university, I'll answer them over there. What I'd like to do now, if it's okay with everyone, is just I want to open the floor to questions if you guys have any questions. Remember, they don't have to be about my university. They can have anything to do with studying in the UK, applying to the UK, living in the UK, anything I can do. Well, in that case, thank you all very much for coming. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. I will be upstairs, and if anybody wants to talk to me individually, you're very welcome to do so. Thank you.